In this video, we're talking about why you need a podcast trailer, how long it should be, and what it needs to include. My name is Haley Hayhurst. I'm the owner of Espresso Podcast Production, a full-service podcasting agency specializing in editing, marketing, and strategy. And today, our training video is all about a podcast trailer. Now, this is actually one of the first things that you will need for a podcast from the recording side. So, how do you record a podcast trailer? What is a podcast trailer? What does it need to include? And how long should it be? These are all things that we're covering today. First, let's talk about what a podcast trailer actually is. A podcast trailer is a great way to get people excited about your podcast and show them if it's something that they're actually interested in listening to, as well as giving them a little taste of what it's going to be like listening to your full episodes. I truly believe that every podcast should have a podcast trailer, and this needs to be the first thing that you post on your RSS feed. Last week, we talked about RSS feeds and how to set one up, and if you're interested, be sure you click this link so you're able to go and watch that video. Now, one thing that I mentioned in that was Apple Podcasts can actually take 2 weeks to publish your podcast and have it show up in their directory. So, one way to make sure that you are ready for your launch date with your first episode is to post your trailer episode 2 weeks before your launch date. This is the strategy that I tell my one-on-one clients, and I'm giving it to you for free today, so make sure you subscribe for more expert tips on podcasting. But during these 2 weeks that you have posted your trailer episode, between the time that you post your first episode, you are going to want to go heavy on the promotion to get reviews from your friends, your community, your close network, and anyone else who will leave you a 5-star review and write a quick review for you. This is an excellent way to build your authority before you even start your podcast and build your trust with people who will be finding your show once the first episode airs. If you are interested in hitting podcast charts, such as Apple Podcasts New and Noteworthy, you are really going to want to double down on how many podcast reviews you get to enhance your likelihood of showing up on these top charts. So, how long does a podcast trailer actually need to be? This is up to you, but I would highly recommend it being somewhere between 30 and 60 seconds. Now, this 30 to 60 second trailer should include who you are, what you will be talking about, your expertise or credibility for talking about this topic, and what they can expect going forward through the podcast. If you go back on the playlist of how to start a podcast on my page, this also really ties into your niche and having a topic for your podcast. So make sure if you haven't watched that already, that you go and watch that now. Being quick and concise is the name of this game. It makes it so easy for your listeners to really connect with you and get excited for your podcast. Now, also, this is a great way for anyone who comes across your podcast later on down the line to get a little glimpse of who you are and what you talk about before they dive into a full episode. So make sure you're putting your best foot forward in this and make sure that you really are explaining who you are and what they can expect from your podcast. Now, to just dive in a little bit deeper, I would highly encourage you to pick your podcast theme music before you actually publish your trailer, so you can tie the whole brand together and put your podcast music under your trailer. Now, since it will only be 30 to 60 seconds, the way I do it for my clients is play the music under the full track. Now, this is a little bit of editing, but if you are starting a podcast, you probably are looking into editing. So I would highly recommend you putting your podcast music under your trailer. That way you can start building that way for your audience to remember who you are and get excited for that, because they will hear the music and link it to you. As a recap, your podcast trailer should be fun and it should be full of your personality so your audience can start getting excited about listening to your full episodes. You need to include the name of your podcast, who you are, who the podcast is for, and why people should listen, all in your trailer. This will really get people excited and come back week after week. And don't forget about that tip that I shared about getting as many reviews during this time as possible. Make sure you ask your friends, family, and close connections. That way you can start building trust right off the bat. If you have enjoyed this episode and found it helpful, please subscribe and like this video. I would love you to put your podcast trailer link in the comments so I can go and hear what your podcast is about and how you are using that trailer to really bring in a new audience. I am so excited for you to launch your podcast, and happy podcasting.